Postmate webinar 2022 January rate change for USPS and more, lots more. You know what? I titled this webinar really poorly because it didn't drum up a lot of excitement. Sometimes I'm quicker on my feet than other times, and I was asleep at the helm this time. This is actually a really important webinar. There's some really good information in this one. I should have made it more splashy to get your attention. Nevertheless, we have over 800 stores that signed up for it, so I guess we did okay. Let's get moving forward. And first of all, the USPS rate change, it's package services. So these things on the left-hand side pretty much are everything that it's encompassing. Oops, wait a minute. Okay, and the first thing I want you to do is make sure that you're on the right USPS, that's post office, tier level in Postmate. Now, if you use Indicia, and most everybody in here does, then you should be, you can go into Tools on your master, Tools, Postmate Settings, Carrier Setup, and go into USPS tab and see what it says there. Price group, in this case, says Indicia Preferred Rates. Look, the only one I really don't want you set to is published rates. If you made a boo-boo during the quick rate setting utility after the update and you chose published rates, then that's what you're set to. And in that case, you're gonna get some really strange things when you're trying to ship things, and Indicia is gonna throw errors and stuff because it's gonna display things that you're not supposed to ship with that the level that you're on, and so on and so forth. If you don't know what tier level you're on with USPS, just select Indicia Preferred. It's probably what you're on, and at least it'll give you all the right selections so that you won't make any mistakes. Indicia Preferred, if you are a member of RS Associates and have your rate program through them, then absolutely select the RS rate program for that. Steve, no difference. Okay. So just make sure that you're not set on published rates. After the rate update, I always have a handful of stores, too many actually, that boo-booed in the QRSU and didn't read or didn't listen to one of my webinars and chose set my wholesale rates to published, and that's not what you want. You want your wholesale rates to be your real cost, and that's the tier level that's given to you when you sign up for Indicia. All right. So here's what did not change in this rate change. Stamps, first class letters, and flats. And remember, a flat is always an envelope, okay? And then here's what you need to know about that. The post office has gone to a mandatory twice a year rate change. Now, having said that, they're actually sneaking in a third one this year. It's a mini one, but we'll talk about that. So January and July are going to be constants for USPS rate changes. We of course hate that because that means rate change for our developers twice a year. So that's a lot of double time work because rate changes take a lot of work. But that's what you need to be aware of. And in fact, beginning this July, stamps, you know, the little square things that you stick on a letter, actually are supposed to go up twice a year. So for example, this July, let's say it's 58 cents now, I think. Let's say it goes to 60 cents in July. It could go then up to 62 cents next January, and 63 cents the next July, and 65 cents the next January, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. Sometimes package services like this rate update will change. My guess is that they will try to keep package service changes to January rate change, the big one, but we'll see. That's just my guess. Okay, first class package services changed, and first class package service retail has changed. So both of these have gone up, one a little bit more than the other. And so your next question is going to be, for some of you, what's the difference between the two? So here's the brief, abbreviated version of the difference between first class package service and first class package service retail. The one on the right in the lighter bubble is the one that's available at the post office. It only goes to 13 ounces. You don't get any discounts. It can be any size, but when it's 13 ounces, exactly how big can it be? It's not like you're going to put a 20 cube box and get it under 13 ounces. So, and then the one on the left is the one that's more advantageous for you. It has all the lovely discounts in it. The limitation of the size, 22 by 18 by 15, is newly enforced. That's actually enforced by Indicia at this time, not Postalmate. We may be able to implement it in Postalmate in the future, but because it's different, the size allowances for these two services are different. It actually made a complication. So we'll see if we can get through that in an update in the future. But right now, the limit for first class package service is 22 by 18 by 15. Folks, here's the weird thing on this one. It means 22 in any direction. Or if you have something that's 22, then you can't have more than 18 in the other direction. And then if you had something that was 21 by 17, then it couldn't be more than 15 high. So what I'm telling you is, for example, a tube, a 30 by 3 by 3 tube could not go via first class package service with the discounts because 30 exceeds the 22. So it's a weird way. The only other real restriction on this lesser expensive service is that it can't have any personal correspondence. Please, please don't confuse that with the idea that it can't be a personal shipment. Of course it can be a personal shipment. It can be a gift. It just can't have a gift card or a greeting card, birthday card, something like that in it. It can be any kind of personal shipment, just no personal correspondence. What is personal correspondence? Well, something a business would not send. Okay, so types of correspondence in it that are okay would be like an invoice or something, or a receipt or something like that. But it can be a personal shipment. The idea is that if you're going to have a card or something or a letter in it, they want you to actually put a stamp on that and send it separately. They want you to pay for that separately. Okay, media mail. Did you know that 100% of the contents of a media mail shipment must be qualifying educational materials? We always think it can be anything readable, watchable, and that's not quite true. It actually has to be educational materials. So I know it's kind of weird, right? I don't know why I'm looking over here off in space. Really should be looking at you, shouldn't I? So media mail is going up to about 12.1%, which is pretty significant. It's skewed a little bit more towards the heavier things. So a 2-pound thing isn't going to go up 12%. That might be much less, but like a 50-pound box of books, that's probably going up closer to 20%. So it averages 12%. Express mail. I'm going a little bit out of order here. You can see I started with first class, then media, and then I jumped all the way up to express mail. There's a reason to my madness besides the fact that I'm mad. Here we go. So express mail is increasing about 4.9%. It's not a real big deal. It's typical across the board. This is the kind of increase we would normally expect in a rate increase. So I wouldn't say anything jumped out at us here, but it increased a little bit. Priority mail. This is flat rate services we're going to talk about first. Okay, so just the flat rate. So that's the flat rate envelope, the flat rate padded envelope, the flat rate legal envelope, the flat rate boxes, etc. Those have gone up by a little bit, with the exception, oddly enough, of the largest box, an APO box, went down by 10 cents. I know 10 cents. Whoopee, but hey, it's not up, it's down. So that's kind of a strange thing. And then, now we're going to get into the interesting stuff. Priority mail generic packaging. So this is any packaging they bring in or you package. So all zones up to 8 pounds have increased. However, zones 5 to 8, over 8 pounds and up to about 26, it's wishy-washy there. It's a little hit and miss, have decreased some. And then all zones 11 through 26 have decreased. Zone 9 has increased about 15%, which is a substantial increase. Zone 9 are the U.S. territories, so Guam, Puerto Rico, as if going to Guam costs the same as going to Puerto Rico. No. But anyways, they lump it all in zone 9. So the furthest away from you within the real United States, Alaska, Hawaii included, would be zone 8. And surcharges will be coming in April. We'll talk about those shortly. So I'm going to, wait a minute, there was a decrease. Did you see that? Decrease. What's a decrease? Decrease. You know, in our industry, we so rarely talk about a decrease, especially with what inflation up higher than it's been in 39 years or something like that. I think CNN said today. So beats me. Decrease. Okay, so let's take a guess. Here we go. I want you to guess on this. Don't type it in. I'm actually going to have a poll come up here in a minute. Before the rate change, so that was like 2 weeks ago, and a zone 8, so 20-pound package. So zone 8 might be, for me, I'm in Arizona, so zone 8 would be New York, okay? 20 pounds priority mail would have cost $70.83 a week ago. Today, how much less is it? Because we said there's a decrease. So how much is that decrease? I'm going to launch a poll, and so don't type it in. Here we go. Launch. Okay. So now you should see the poll. Go ahead and vote what you think the decrease is for the post office. Let's see how in tune you are with what the post office did. Okay, I'm going to close this poll before you smart Alex can look it up. And closing in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hurry up, 1. Closing. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share the results. So you can see clearly that you think 217 was the winner. Well, folks, hold on to your hat. It's $12.37. I know. 14 of you just fell off your chair. That's not a small decrease. That's a huge decrease, right? And that is true. And that's, yeah, $12.37 is the real one. So back to the screen. Let's make sure we're here. Okay. So let's get on this. There we go. Is that a fluke? No, I didn't go in there and pick the craziest one. Here's just some random, and I'll tell you how random it was. I thought to myself, okay, let's choose 4 that are just kind of all over the place. So, and I did, and I didn't look at it until I wrote it down. So a zone 5, 13-pound was $27.38, now is 21. That's like $6.38. That's a big chunk of change. Next one, zone 7, 11 pounds, a difference of $5.15. Zone 3, 16 pounds is a difference of $4.18. And the heavier ones, zone 6, 18 pounds, that's a difference of $12 and some change. Can't do math that fast. So it's not a fluke. It really is that big of a decrease in rates. So weirdness, right? Let's move to parcel select ground. Now, none of you, with very few exceptions, but very, very few, should be ever either displaying retail ground or shipping retail ground. If you don't understand why, then you're probably not on the right tier level and getting the best discounts from Indicia. But retail ground should never be shipped from your store. Parcel select ground is the same exact service, only you get a discount. So why would you ship with the same exact service with no discount? It just makes no sense. So you should always be selecting parcel select ground because you pay less. Okay. For 1 pound rates, they're all increasing, but for 2 pounds and more, they're decreasing. Now, zones 1 through 4 are decreasing by a typical itty bitty amount. We're talking like 30 cents here, 22 cents there, 46 cents there, 15 cents there, that kind of thing. But zones 5 through 9, we're back to those big dollar discounts, several of them double-digit dollars, over $10. So it's really weird. I have a bubble. Again, a zone 8 10-pound item before the rate change parcel select ground was $37.27, and now it's only $17.83. Guys, that's almost $20 cheaper. I mean, this is insane, right? So there's some really strange things going on here. There is no difference between parcel select ground and retail ground in the manner of shipping. The rules are different on accepting. Retail ground is available at the post office and parcel select ground is not. Parcel select ground is only available to wholesalers like us. Okay, so you're probably thinking, with all of that, those discounts, what is the catch? Surcharges are coming. Remember, post office is all, for years and years and years, they've advertised themselves as the carrier that doesn't charge you surcharges. And then we got this weird peak surcharge last year. And we're going, well, you know what? That's kind of a surcharge. And then boom, this year they said, you know what? UPS and FedEx and DHL might be onto something there. We're going to start surcharges. And that's what they're doing. These surcharges are coming up April 3rd. So remember earlier I said that USPS is sneaking in a third rate change this year? That's the sneak one. They're adding just surcharges on April 3rd. We'll talk about them. So this is I had fun making this, by the way. So this is kind of how I think of what's happening with post office rates. You're driving along, and this is my neighborhood. Actually, I can see this mountain from where I am. So, well, not in the building right now, but when I go outside, I can. So you're driving along in the middle of July, and you don't have a jacket on, and you're looking out the window, and you have a little sweater over you because the air conditioning's on in the car full blast. And all of a sudden, you close your eyes and you open them again, and boom, it looks like that. Well, you're probably thinking, what just happened? That's how I feel about the rates here. So here's what my guess is. We'll talk about these surcharges, but for years and years, the post office was a small parcel and letter shipper only. Okay, that's what they focused on. But in the last, I think you all understand, in the last 20 years in particular, letter volume, thank you, email, has gone drastically down. Even advertising, thank you, email and internet, has gone drastically down. That was their bread and butter before. Package services have gone way up, and they've been missing out heavily over about 5 to 8 pounds, depending on the zone. They have been missing the boat heavily. I think this is an attempt to capture some of that from UPS and FedEx. Over the last 20 years, as all these things have changed, USPS has had to add updated and newer equipment in all of their facilities and in all of their warehouses and transportation places that can handle packages. Remember, 50 years ago, 90% of everything sent by the post office was itty bitty letters and letter packs type things. So your conveyor belts were smaller, your machines that went through are smaller. Remember, it goes through rollers and it gets stamped and all those old fashioned things. Now they've had to put in bigger conveyor belts, bigger rollers, bigger things, they've even had to get dollies to handle packages. So now it is where they've got those things in place or starting to get those well in place, and they can start to handle a little bit more packages. And that's been their long-term goal all along. So I do believe that they're going to be trying to compete a little more with UPS and FedEx. Having said that, let's talk about these surcharges. Surcharge number 1, and this affects parcel select ground, priority mail, and express mail. Parcels that exceed 22 inches but are not longer than 30 inches will have a $4 surcharge. Okay? Yes, this will be in Postmate. Surcharge number 2. Same services. Parcels that exceed 30 inches in length will have a $15 surcharge. Okay? Yeah, that's a big surcharge. Yes, it's going to be in Postmate. And then finally, parcels that exceed 2 cubic feet or 3,456 cubic inches will have a $15 surcharge. All these are effective on April 3rd. Postalmate will have it in, and as long as you enter dimensions correctly, Postalmate will pick up these charges and apply them correctly. Okay, you'll have the opportunity to mark up these surcharges. They will be in Postalmate under surcharges for USPS. They're not there now because they're not effective now. But when they are, you will have the opportunity to have a charge on top of this. I don't know. We'll talk at a later time about how much that would be appropriate. Let me just say that for a $15 surcharge, if you double that and charge $30, your customer's probably going to run screaming and tell all the neighbors about how horrible you are. So I don't think doubling it is going to be the answer for most of us. Remember, this is not money you made yesterday. It's not necessarily money you need to make tomorrow. I'm not saying you can't add a little on it, but I'm going to suggest a very little if you do. All right. And I want you to think about what kind of packages this is going to be. And the one that's going to get you more often than not is that tube. Right now, we know that tubes sent ground UPS or ground FedEx incur an additional handling surcharge because they're round. Now, additional handling surcharge is like, there's a story with that one too, but somewhere between $14 and $20. It's a huge surcharge. So we're too smart. We don't send tubes UPS and FedEx ground anymore. We send them all post office. Well, now if it's longer than 30 inches, it's going to have a $15 surcharge there. So tubes are basically going to be a problem. And be very careful, because if you buy to resell 30-inch long tubes, they will measure over 30 inches once the end cap is on. And so you'll get hit not only with a $15 surcharge, but with a shame on you charge. Okay, we'll talk about the shame on you charge in a minute. So if you're going to have tubes, long tubes, I would say stop at 28 or 29. I don't know what your supplier can give you. If they only have 30, then honestly, I'd probably have, every time you got an order, take an electric saw to it and trim off an inch and keep it as a 29 so you don't have this problem. If you can do rectangle boxes, that's better, but better for UPS and FedEx, but it's still going to incur the charge with the post office because it's over 30 inches. So, and then that 2 cubic feet, an example of that would be a 14 by 16 by 16, just to give you an idea of the size. It could be something longer and skinnier too. It could be a 24, 12, I don't know. I can't do the math that quick. 8, something like that might also be very close. Now, 24, 16, 8 might be close. So you're going to have to do that. Postalmate will do the math for you, promise. So you just need to enter the dimensions and enter them accurately. And we typically in this industry tend to round up a little, just not a bad idea now. The shame on you charge. The post office also has this one. Now, we don't anticipate that this is going to happen too often, but this shame on you charge will either get back billed to you via your Indicia account or could end up being postage due to the recipient. So be very, very careful. That is when you fail to enter accurate dimensions when the parcel exceeds 1,728 cubic inches. So that's one square foot. So that's a 12 cube box, but it could be, again, it could be a different shape. So just doing the math real quickly, let's see, I'm gonna just 36 times 3 times 3 equals, no, that doesn't even come close to it. So a tube wouldn't come close to this one. But just, this is an absolute point that you need to enter accurate dimensions. Like I said, if you're going to err on the side of caution. Darren, do the math. 48 times 6 times 6 does not equal 1728. So you won't get it. It's not subject to an accidental shame on you charge. However, it exceeds 30 inches in length, so it would be subject to the $15 surcharge. Remember, none of these surcharges apply today. These all apply beginning April 3rd. And once this snowball is starting to roll down the hill with USPS surcharges, I imagine it will gain steam and grow. So I imagine over the next few years, we will, thank you, good one, AJ. I imagine that we will be talking more about future surcharges. Packs and pouches, there's no special rule on packs and pouches for USPS, but they do fall under the same size restrictions. Okay, international. Thank goodness there's not a lot of changes with international. International are increasing exactly as we would expect. It's a little under 5%. It's somewhere between 3 and 4.5% per service. It varies up and down a little. There's no weird surcharges. It's just kind of what we would expect at this time of year for international. So thank goodness there's not a lot to talk about for international. By the way, please, if you are, stop selling Global Express Guarantee. First of all, Indicia does not create a label for it. You have to fill out a form. And if you're doing that, shame on you. That's another shame on you. That's a Karen shame on you. You don't want me to go Karen on you, right? That would be bad. And okay, quit falling off your chair laughing at me. Anyway, yeah, Global Express Guaranteed is a FedEx product. If you need to ship it, you should ship it FedEx because FedEx gives it to you a lot cheaper than the post office does. So just saying. And speaking of FedEx, oh my gosh, we have some Fedex changes coming. These are coming soon. Sorry. Zone-based surcharges. So these are actually coming in the next couple of weeks. What's the date today? So the first one is coming in 5 days. And we'll talk about these in detail. But what, for example, all of these surcharges, they've always had, well, they haven't always had, but they've had for a long, long time. And I'm just going to pick on additional handling, which is in the upper left, that circle. They've had additional handling for ages. Back in the early days, if there was an additional handling, they would just charge you a flat, I don't know, $12. Okay. Then they decided a few years ago, well, they should divide it up. There's going to be one fee for additional handling if the dimensions are a certain thing. Excuse me. One fee for additional handling if the weight is over a certain amount, and one fee for additional handling that for the packaging being non-standard packaging. So they divided it up in 3 ways, figured 3 ways to get more money from you and different amounts. Now they're actually dividing up all these surcharges by zones and zip codes and postal codes. So it's basically, if from here to there, or from here to the other place, or from here to the further place, will apply different types of surcharges. So they made it really complex for our development team. So the international out of area, which already exists in Postmate, will now be divided into 3 groups, A, B, and C. And tier A is a small charge right now. It's like $4 and change, I think. But tier B and C are considerable. The current international out of area charge is considerable. I want to say, I can't remember it. I want to say it's like $38 or something like that. Tier B and C are in that range, $38 and $40-something, I think. So quite substantial. Again, that's based on the distance. Making sure when you're doing an international shipment that you get a time in transit on your rate comparison screen. That generally 99% of the time means that the carrier recognizes the address and will be able to provide you, and Postmate will be able to add on this surcharge correctly if it applies. If you get a verify with carrier, then Postmate is telling you that the carrier didn't recognize your address. It doesn't mean it won't get there. It may get there fine, but it's not matching what the carrier server has. The carrier driver is probably smart enough to get it there. The carrier server is not that smart. And so if the carrier server can't recognize it, it can't check and see if it's got an out of area surcharge. And then the next one, additional handling. I got you, Deborah, I'm coming. Additional handling surcharge, again, will be based on zone. So there are 3 additional handlings. There's, like I said, dimensions, weight, and packaging, type of packaging. And now that's based, so going to East Coast or West Coast or wherever will be a different rate than going to the next city. Again, just a lot of hard work. These are all little ways. Remember, when you have one surcharge, you make X amount, but when you can increase it by 30 cents and you have, 20 million shipments a day, that adds up to a lot of money. So that's what these are all about. These little pennies they're adding. The accountants are fast at work. And by the way, I want to say, and I won't swear to this, I want to say UPS already has these. So this is not, I don't think, unique to FedEx. I could be wrong on that. I didn't check. So I hate being wrong. Okay. And then the oversized surcharge, again, zone-based. Okay, all these are going to be in Postmate as long as you do your job and enter everything and you don't get verified with carrier and you enter your dimensions and you click on not in a standard container. If it's not in a standard container, Postmate's going to give you the right charges. Now, is there a map showing the zone map for US and international? There is not a map for international. There is a book for international. And you can download it as a PDF. And so for FedEx right now, it's going to be the International Out of Area Surcharge Zone Book. So Google that. That'll be something you can do. Nope, will not, Todd. And then how did your store do? It's time to take some polls and talk about what your store did. I would love for all of you to participate. Here's what I can promise you. I can promise you that nobody's going to see your answers other than in a group, in an aggregate group. So like we did the earlier one, nobody could see whether you picked 7 cents or 217 or 427 or 1237. That'll be the truth in these two. Nobody in my company is going to be able to look at this and say, oh, this store did that, and this store did that. So but answering as honest as you can would be good. It helps us all as an industry to get stronger and helps us to know whether we're doing okay or not. So if you don't want to participate, that's fine, but I encourage you to participate. So we're going to start, and I've got several questions here. Yeah, go away, Windows. Here we go. First one. Okay. And this is for only if you've been open 3+ years. Only if you have been open 3+ years. You're welcome, Mark. Okay. And I know this is the big one that we're all asking. And I haven't run the numbers that Postmate, we keep counts in the back end of how many packages are sent through Postmate every year. I will try to get those numbers if I can, or at least for December, and give you some ideas in one of the upcoming webinars. Okay, we're closing this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to share with you. Here we go. There we go. So you can kind of see what, if you are on par with others. And why some were up and some were down, I can't tell you that. I heard quite a bit. Here's what I heard, and I don't know that this is true. If you are a really established store, you might have been down a little. And if maybe you've been open 4 or 5 or 6 years and people are still finding you, you might have been up. Now, I say that, and I think that's true, but I think that's true only slightly more than half of the time. I've also heard from a lot of stores that are very established that were up, and stores that were fairly newly established that went down. So I think it's a kind of a mixed bag. But there you go. I know that's a question we get asked a lot. We're going to have a related question. Sorry, you're going to get dizzy from all these questions. We're going to go back once more. Again, this is only if your store has been open for 3 years or longer. Okay, you're welcome, Mark, again. And for you newbies, I got ones for you coming too. Okay, so how do you compare to 2019? See, for most of us, 2020 was a bonus year. It was just bonkers. 2019, and it was a huge jump from 2019, which tended to be, I would say, more typical. I love the senior people there that can't remember. They're like me. Okay. This is interesting. I think you're going to like this. Closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let me share that. So the vast majority of you were up this year compared to 2019. And see, here's my my philosophy on that for what it's worth. And take it. I don't know everything. I know that really surprises you. It surprises me. No. um, I've been in the industry just a really stupid long time, guys. I got my first store in 1986. Some of you weren't born then. So let me just say that one of the things I noticed when a brand new store opens, I always used to say after your second Christmas, you'll start turning a good profit. And the reason is by Christmas, all those people find you at Christmas time, and then they come back to you through the year, off and on. They might only come back 3 times a year after that, but they found you. Once Christmas is the finding time. I got to find a shipping store. And they find you, and then they'll come back. Well, that's kind of what 2020 was. The whole year was kind of like Christmas. And people all of 2020 were looking for a shipping store. And so I think that's the trickle effect we're seeing this year is we're getting that and why we're still doing good. And I don't think we'll ever fall for the 2019 era and before. Now, those of you who are down, I can't speak. It could be unique to your store. It could be you're in one of the states that has really strict lockdowns, or your neighborhood or area has really strict lockdowns. That has affected areas. I will tell you, I had a report of one store where the UPS store a block or two away lost all their employees one day and had to close during December. So crazy, weird things happen. Okay. Let's see if I can be smart enough to hide that. And we'll go to the next poll. See, this is kind of fun. This is a Karen question. I really wanted to know this one. Okay. Historically in December, Mondays are always busy. People go out and they shop on Saturday and Sunday, and then they come in and ship on Monday. So this is especially true for those of you who have been open a while, but any of you can answer this. Did you notice that Mondays in December, this last December, were not as heavy as previous Decembers? Okay. And closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's share that. And let me tell you my theory on this, because you can tell I spend a lot of my life thinking about this. No, I don't have a personal life. The 30% that said no, that's cool. I get that. But the 66% of you said it seemed more spread out. And my theory is it's because people aren't shopping at the malls on Saturday and Sunday and shipping on Monday. They're ordering online, and their packages come in on Tuesday and they'll come ship it on Wednesday. So I think that we're going to see that continue. I think that's just an interesting phenomena, and that it's something we can look forward to. I like that because let me tell you, there were Mondays where I would do 500 shipments on a Monday and I would nearly pass out dead at the end of the day. So, okay, next one. Are we having fun yet? Ooh, I like this. Compared to last December, did you shift more packages to a particular carrier? Because you are ultimately in control. Compared to last year, compared to 20, did you? Okay, closing this in 5, 4, 3. Wow, there's a lot of voting going on still. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, closing. Okay, sharing. I'm getting good at this. Okay. UPS made out like a bandit this year. So kudos to UPS. They did some right things. Their pricing is pretty aggressive for us in comparison with others. So that's pretty cool. All right. Couple more polls left. I hope you're enjoying this. Here we go. Did you experience any staffing issues during the holidays? Yes, it did, Todd. All right, Mr. Big Shot Robert, who has multiple stores. Okay, closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. And I will tell you, I talked to one poor guy. I won't share where, but he had 3 employees. 2 of them were, let's see, one was out with a funeral. The busy week, the 3rd week of December, one was out with a funeral and 2 were out sick. So he was all by himself the busy week of December when he normally runs four people in there. I can't even imagine. All right, I think I've got 2, maybe 3 more polls here. Oh, this one was actually hinted to me. Did you experience any carrier pickup issues due to their staffing? Okay. And hopefully, you know, if you're new, you may not know. You always want to treat your carrier drivers like gold. I know FedEx Ground can rotate; drivers can come in and out, but your FedEx Express and your UPS drivers, and probably DHL drivers. But let's focus on FedEx Express and UPS, and maybe FedEx Ground. Are pretty static, and they are very important to you. So make sure that you give them drinks, offer them pizza, give them. I always used to give them $50 at Christmas. I'm generous. What can I say? All right. Closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Okay. So most of you did okay, but you know what? 1 in 5, 22% is not unsubstantial. So that's good to know. 2 more polls. Ooh. Oh, this is for newbies. Only newbies, okay? Be smart, only for newbies. If you have been open less than 3 years, your 2021 sales were? Okay, closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, close. Share. Okay, so this isn't too bad. More than 50%, 60% in fact, either exceeded or achieved what they thought they would in 2021. 40% less than. So that's actually not as bad as it could have been. We always kind of think grandiose when we get into the business, and then reality hits and we find out that it's a little harder than we thought. So good job, good job. Okay. Next one. Last one. This is the important one to me. Okay. If Postmate started offering regional training in 2022 and came to a place near you, would you attend? And for those of you who are new, we do regional events throughout the country in major cities, hopefully within driving distance of many of you, or a short flight. And we do a Saturday Sunday event so that it's when your store is closed, Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon. So okay. And this is really important because we're seriously looking at this, guys. So this one's going to go all the way to the top brass in my company. So I need you to vote on this and be honest with me on it. I don't want to waste money and plan all these events if nobody wants to come. So okay, closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And yes, of course I will share this too. All right. And I appreciate that. That's good information for us. Really, really important. And I thank you for that information. All right. Okay, let's see if I'm smart enough to get back to where I wanted to get to. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's ask questions. Yeah, I'm counting on it, Mark. That was the best. I still think about that often. Thank you. All right. I'm going to expand my questions and see if I can read them. Okay. Nancy buys catered lunches once a week for her drivers during December in all her stores. That's pretty cool. That is really cool. So Tanya says, what post office tier is supposed to be selected? RS rates or Indicia rates? I'm an RS premium member. Tanya, if you got your Indicia rates through RS, select that. Otherwise, select Indicia rates. Currently, they're both the same, so it's not going to really make a difference. I just always like things to be correct, but it wouldn't make a big deal of a difference. So pick whichever one you like. Pick RS. I don't care. Yes, Joe, I said that. Yes, everybody who signs up for this, registers for this webinar will get a email later on that with the link so you can rewatch this and be miserable listening to me all over again. Can I get one-on-one training with the Postmate system? You know what? For a check with enough zeros on it, I'm sure you could. No, we don't really have one-on-one training, but we do have. There's probably a library of 18 to 25 webinars on our website. There's no less than 40 videos. There's no less than 120 tech notes. And guys, the first place you should go for help in Postalmate is our website, to the help center. When I get so crazy insane when we get an email or a phone call that says, I need to know how to change the price on a box. Well, you know, or I need to know what printers work with Postalmate. That's all on our website. And it's not that please don't get me wrong. We love to help you. We really do. We love talking to you. But at this time of year, when we're really busy with all the update things and everybody's swapping out computers, and that's what's made it so crazy busy this year, is the swapping out of new computers. It's really hard to say, well, you have to wait because I have to answer this one, or you have to wait because I have to answer this one. We want to answer them all right now. So what I'm saying is, if you can self-help, please do. If you need our help, by all means. And I still will tell you, emailing us and telling us what the issue is the quickest and best way to get information. We will often email you back, or because you've told us what your issue is, we have many days where we have other people that pitch in the company that pitch in to help support. And like one might be an expert on printers, and one might be a developer, and one might be me. Now, I can't help you with printers, but if you have an operations question, I'm going to call you. If you don't tell us what the issue is, you're going to have to wait for one of the regular technicians, and that could be an extra 2 hours. So please tell us what the issue is, and an email always works best. support@pcsynergy.com. Okay, do we have to make any price changes when we do the update? I ask because my update prices are all in red. If you have red on your surcharges, add-ons, insurance, et cetera, it means you're not making a profit on those items. When you do the update, when you did the update, because it already happened, you load your rates and the quick rate setting utility pops up. And you need to complete that quick rate setting utility to make the new rates apply in your store. If you don't do that, you're working on last year's rates. Now, you're going to get correct postage from Indicia, but you're not going to be marking it up correctly. So the quick rate setting utility must be run. Boy, yeah, Dottie, that's unique. I've never heard of that before. I'm a new owner. How do I know if I'm under charging for shipping? Well, that's a really good question. I can't, that's not an easy answer, Carla. I would say, you know, standard in retail, and this isn't specific to our industry, this is specific to general industry, is a term called keystone, and that's doubling your cost. And I think that's easy. Now, obviously, if you go to Dillard's and pick out a pair of blue jeans and it's $80, I can tell you right now, Dillard's did not pay $40 for that. They probably paid $20 for that. Otherwise, how could they ever offer 75% off? And they do. So, um, so bear in mind that a lot of retail places charge much, much more than double their cost. But I would say double your cost for many things in our industry is pretty common. And for things like corrugated cardboard, et cetera, much more than double, 3, 4, 5, 6 times more. Okay. Is it possible to give a discount on the total amount on the Cashmate, or do I need to give a discount individual? You can do. It's called discount all, Rodrigo. It requires some setup, and the reason it requires setup is because we believe you have some things you would not want to give a discount on. We have stores that, for example, maybe you don't want to give a discount on stamps or money orders or Western Union or some other things, utility payments. There's things that stores sell that they don't want to give a discount on. So so a discount all, that's what you're going to want to research on our website in the Help Center, discount all, and you'll get a tech note with the setup, and you can set that up. That way you can, what it does is allows you to certain departments or services you can not include in the discount when you apply a discount all. Jacob says, my concerns are operational primarily. Best practices, optimal settings. Best practices, I'm going to refer you to RS Associates. They have a really great forum or discussion group with peers that have been in business for a number of years to answer questions great. Optimal settings, going back and watching the webinars and videos, that's probably the best way to get that. I did not, Freddie. I might have to go back and look at that, or you can email it in. Annette, I'm going to address that. So she asks, do you know anything about loose peanuts cannot be shipped to New York City? So New York, maybe just New York City, I don't know if it's the state or the city, my understanding is has a new law that you cannot sell peanuts, styrofoam. Now, I don't, probably the biodegradable is okay, but regular styrofoam. But I don't think, I mean, they can't prohibit a person from receiving it in a package. So if you're not in that city or where that law applies, there's no law that applies to you. So if you're in California and you're sending to New York City and they can't sell styrofoam, that doesn't affect you. You can put all the styrofoam you want in that box. And when they get it, they just can't reuse it. That's the rule. No, I can't, Joel. But you know, that's a little bit hard to do here because not everybody has access to their machine. Let's see. Okay. The city has had that in place for years. The state just started it. Okay. So Kirsten asks, if my wholesale rate is $10, should my rate be $20? It's hard to know what's a good rate and what's not for taking customers for a ride. What's everybody else do? It kind of depends on the service, Kirsten. I'm going to tell you my past experience, and I lived in a bedroom community outside of Phoenix, outside of major metropolitan bedroom community, meaning about 500,000 people, so a suburb. My area was modest, but certainly not poor by any stretch of the imagination. And if something cost me $10 FedEx, I would probably have resold it for $25. If something cost me $10 for post office, however, I probably would have resold it for about $16. So if that helps you any. So post office, typically we would have a little bit less of a margin, and that's because the biggest competition, your biggest competition is the biggest shipper in the world, and the biggest shipper of the world is the United States Postal Service. And every neighborhood has one, usually more than one, and every one of your customers knows where it is and how to get there. So that's your competition. We do not ship alcohol at all, period. End of story. We do not ship alcohol. When do we anticipate being compliant with Windows 11? Well, that's a really good question. So we don't support Windows 11 at this time. That does not mean you cannot use it. We have a number of stores that's the only computer they could find, and they needed a new computer, and that's what they got. Postalmate, as far as we can see, runs fine on it. However, not all printers and scales work fine on it. Okay, so if you get a Windows 11 computer and you have some older printers and scales, be prepared to have to replace those as well. And here's the issue. Trying to find, especially printers right now, is really difficult, and it must be a supported printer. You can't go out rogue and say, oh, well, this one's on Amazon's only $46. Nope, that's not going to work. So, so be very careful moving to Windows 11. Yeah, we'll do something like that in the future, Joel. Has anybody heard if we can ship to Australia again via USPS? I think I looked yesterday and they still have some restrictions. And I can't, Charlie, I'm not 100% sure it's all services. It might be, but sometimes when there's a suspension to a certain country, it's not all services. So, for example, Express might get through and Priority wouldn't. First class might get through and Priority wouldn't. Priority might get through and first class wouldn't. It's just kind of weird. Sometimes it's all services. So I can't speak specifically without looking on that one. We are not allowed to ship firearms, period, end of story. There are, that's Karen's rule because that's the carriers. FedEx has said no. UPS, I don't know that it's in the rules, but you certainly can never send in them to an individual, ever, ever. It has to go to a licensed firearms dealer. If you do, and it has all kinds of rules, but because that's considered hazmat, FedEx says no, and I think UPS also says no, but I can't swear to that. You would need to check. Let's put it this way: if you want to ship firearms and take that risk, that's on you. But I wouldn't. I, as a longtime store owner and business person, it's not worth the sale to me. Can stores ship items with lithium-ion batteries? Yes. The rule of thumb is if the battery is in the product, then you can ship it. If the battery is not in the product, then that's where it becomes a problem. So if you ship a cell phone with a battery in it, fine. A laptop with a battery in it, fine. But if you ship a separate battery, not fine. Can you receive packages containing alcohol? Absolutely. No restriction on receiving, unless you impose one. If you want to have a policy against it, then that's up to you. But no, there's no restriction on that. You are right, AJ, but I'm not going to go into that here because they'll get the wrong message. Sarah's saying that FedEx does have an allowance for long guns only and air handguns, but I'm just going to say that it's a little safer not to. Replica firearms. It depends, Cindy. If you're talking about do they work? Can they harm somebody? Then I would say it's still no. But for example, the military has rifles that are made out of, they're completely rubber. They're solid. They're just a solid piece of rubber, and they use it for drill practice and stuff. And of course, in an X-ray or something, it looks absolutely like a real gun. I mean, absolutely. But I've sent those. That was kind of fun. So, but the idea is, can it harm? And if you do send one of those long guns or air guns, it must go to a licensed gun dealer or a licensed repair shop. License is the key. Okay. Dry ice is allowed in limited quantity by UPS. FedEx does not allow dry ice. That is considered hazmat. For FASC locations, it's not allowed. If it shoots a projectile, it's a gun. That's right. So the only way you're safe, I think, is a cap gun or a water. Well, maybe a water gun would be okay, right? Water's not a projectile. I don't have an answer for you, and I have an SN, and I don't. My thing scrolled up. I don't have an answer for you on that. Okay. A prepaid label with for a gun? No, don't take it. If you know it's a gun in there, even with a prepaid label, you do not take it. Even if the prepaid label's to the dealer. No, I would not accept it. Yeah, I'd rather be safe. Saying, you know what, this is a special circumstance. And usually if you tell your customer that, they're even though they have to drive 10 miles further usually to get it to directly to FedEx, they're happy to do so because they're concerned about their gun. Guns are not cheap. I mean, guns are several $100 or $1,000 each. They would rather have it go properly also. So usually in those, I live in Arizona. Everybody and their dog has guns here. So okay, looks like we got through the questions pretty good. If I didn't get to your question, please go ahead and email it to support@pcsynergy.com. I'll try to get to it. Um, Robert, I'm going to address your question. Is Postmate looking at incorporating Amazon drop-offs? So I'm a little confused to your question. And you're welcome, May. Uh, what are we incorporating? Is that a program? Is that a something? Amazon has not come to us and said, "Hey, we have this wonderful program that we'd like to introduce to your type of stores. Can you incorporate this?" There's no such conversation like that happening. So there's nothing for us to develop at this time with Amazon. Uh, what about barcode and FedEx and UPS? Not sure what you're meaning. Okay. Yeah, Robert, no, they do not offer that to third-party software. That's if they did, we would. Okay, QR codes for FedEx, UPS, and USPS. Again, I'll address this again, but we addressed this before the webinar started. For those of you who didn't get here early, I always take about 5 or 10 minutes before the webinar and do some discussion. So that's another great time for just open discussion. QR codes for FedEx, UPS, and USPS. First of all, not the Amazon QR codes. That's a special program you have to be admitted to. And then Amazon and UPS have to invite us into that. So separate from that, FedEx, UPS, and the post office all have QR codes that they're starting to hand out. They currently are for their internal systems only. So if you go take it to a FedEx office or a FedEx hub, or to a company that's using directly FedEx provided materials, then it can read it. Right now, Postalmate, we can make Postalmate read the QR code. That's not the problem. We just can't connect it to UPS, FedEx, and the post office in order for them to actually send back the label. Because remember, Postalmate doesn't create the labels. Postmate sends the carrier the data, and then the carrier says, "Oh, and here's the label," and sends it back. They don't have, FedEx and UPS don't have that, what's called an API for those for us yet. I will say that FedEx has been talking about that for some time. I do anticipate that will happen, but I don't think their end of it's going to be completed in 2022. So I don't see that happening in 2022. If it did, I would be very happy. But and UPS hasn't talked to us at all about that. And post office, that's kind of a new thing right now. It's only on their website, so I don't know if we'll have access to that. So I want to thank you all again. If we didn't get to your, you're right, Gina. If we didn't get to your question, go ahead and email it to support@pcsynergy.com. I'll try to get to it. Our support team is way too busy to handle extra questions at this time, and I'm sorry for that. But again, it turns out, over 400 stores get new master workstations over the last 3 weeks. We've got stores that got Windows 11 and their printers don't work, and then we've had several updates. So it's been a little bit of fun time in support. So if you talk to our support people, guys, say really nice things to them. Give them all the love you can and tell them how wonderful they are, because they really are. And they've taken a beating the last few weeks, and they've been troopers through it all. They have put in overtime and really kicked it up. So we love our support team. So thank you, everybody. Take care and have a great, great January. We'll see you probably next month. Bye-bye.